Let us know. Okay. Hey, everybody.
Well, we're on? Okay.
Yeah, we're on.
I'm waiting around for someone to put us. Okay. Welcome to our End Abortion Now live stream right here on Facebook. Well, we're on? Okay. This is sort of a surprise for everybody. We didn't announce this really until just a few minutes ago. We wanted to take an opportunity to do this live stream to talk to you about the unique position that we're in right now to address a very serious aspect of ending abortion in our nation. Stopping child sacrifice involves not only going onto the front lines and preaching the gospel at the abortion mills and rescuing babies, those who are stumbling to death, offering help to women and to men who are engaging in this act. But we have to also address the issue of legislation. Roe versus Wade, those sorts of things are swirling around as well. We have states' responsibilities to end abortion in their own states, but we're in a unique position right now. We wanted to talk about this because as Christians, so two things. One, we have the ability now to not be controlled by and dominated by the media.
That's right.
As it stands today. Social media that God has given to us is given to us.
By the way, we should mention, we should have people share this video right now.
Yeah, share.
Now's a good time.
Share this right now.
This video. We're going to be doing a lot of talking about this stuff.
That's right. So if you want to get involved in this fight,
right,
you want to be a part of what we're doing over the next 2 years, specifically very, very directed in the next 2 years in this area of ending abortion immediately, share the content that we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing lots of content, and share it. Share it right now. Do it right now. Let people know who are in your social network about what's going on so they can participate, they can ask questions. But we have to address the unique problem of the legislation that we have to essentially put down that allows for child sacrifice. And we're in a unique position right now because we have, of course, everybody knows if you listen to Apologia Radio how we felt about Donald Trump and him as president. But all that aside, we're facing a Trump presidency right now. And Trump has said that he is pro-life,
right, that
he will appoint pro-life Supreme Court justices. He also now we have a Senate and a House that is Republican. Now, if you're watching this right now and you're thinking that we're champions for the Republican Party, you're thinking very, very wrong about Apologia Church. That's not what we're saying. But Republicans are largely, generally professing pro-life. So you have a professed pro-life president, a professed pro-life Senate, professed pro-life House.
Right.
That should allow us, and of course, if we have Supreme Court justices added who are pro-life, that should allow us and afford us the opportunity to really put down the legislation, the aspect of the legislature that needs to be addressed to end abortion immediately in America. So let's talk. You go ahead and talk about the social networking and the media.
So I was reading this article the other day, and I was talking about how there's a museum exhibit in New York where it has a bunch of artifacts from Martin Luther. And the purpose of the exhibit is to show how Martin Luther was one of the first revolutionaries of social media.
That's an interesting way to put that. Yeah.
Way back in the 1500s. So he had books, and he had ways in which people knew it was his, like the writings and the emails were his, and people would go to the store and they would buy his tracts and they would distribute them. And so that was essentially the first time there was media that people shared.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And so now we've had, the longest time in this country, we've had people who have been like, well, the mainstream media is only giving us two options, or they're controlling the narrative, and there's not much we can do about it. But at this election, we saw that the mainstream media was unable to counter WikiLeaks and Twitter and the social media stuff. And in fact, because the mainstream media refused to acknowledge Bernie Sanders as a genuine contender against Hillary, it actually harmed Hillary and probably was responsible for her losing the race.
A lot of votes.
Yeah, because people didn't believe what the mainstream media said.
Right.
So
there's a heavy distrust of mainstream media.
So they didn't distrust them, and in fact, they retaliated against the mainstream media.
Right.
Because of what they saw on social media.
Yeah.
So we're at a point now where we've been given the printing press again. Right.
That's right.
So we have the printing press. We have the ability for people to share media across the world. I mean, you were just in Australia, and people watch our stuff all the time. and we're just here in Arizona.
Right.
Right. So we have an ability to reach a large amount of people in a way that can actually overpower what is once the mainstream media. So it's like the Catholics, they had the Bible in a certain language, and then you had Tyndale, and they're like, well, we don't want it. We want it in the language of the people. Right. So social media now is the language of the people. Like that's what we have now. And so, that's why it's so important, to share and like and to comment and to share articles that interest you and to share videos. Like it's really important that you do that because what?
Because the Facebook and these social media platforms, when they see that movement,
right,
they're starting to force it because it's a popular video. It's a popular article or something like that.
And
so
if you notice, the mainstream media only reports on what people are talking about on social media, whether it's a viral video or WikiLeaks. Those are all social media things that the mainstream media are playing second fiddle to. So we actually control the conversation now, and so that brings us to Apologia, and we want people to be able to. We want Apologia to be the central media hub to end abortion in this country. And I think me and you were talking about it. We're willing to dedicate the next 2 years while we have a Congress, a Senate, and a president to devote all of our media resources, all of our media assets, energy, YouTube, Facebook, everything we have, any new technology that comes out these next 2 years, we're willing to devote to fighting abortion and exposing either ending abortion with the Republican House, Congress, and presidency,
yes,
or making this the primary example as to why the Republican Party is not pro-life anymore. And so we have 2 years to make those two positions.
That's very important to say,
right,
because you posted something the other day. I forget what it was. And it was related to this issue of, the presidency pro-life, House pro-life,
right,
all that stuff. And then people are saying, well, it's not going to do anything. It's not that. Well, our point is, okay, we understand that. One, we're either going to end abortion because we're actually going to be able to drive this vehicle and tear down what needs to be torn down, or we're going to expose the hypocrisy of our legislature.
Right.
And we're fine with that.
Right.
Like if we can't ban abortion in the United States of America and end it completely and ultimately criminalize it in the next 2 years with a pro-life president, pro-life House, pro-life Senate, if we can't do that, then it exposes really our politicians, our leaders for what they are, hypocrites.
Right.
And
right. And the thing is, if you've read like tweets lately from feminists, they know that the pro-life movement is in a very strong position right now.
yes.
Like they're tweeting how afraid they are that abortion's going to be ended. They're tweeting about how women's bodies are in jeopardy and all
right,
this. Like they're serious about it. They're fighting for it. They're already creating that narrative. And meanwhile, I see a lot of Christians. They're like, well, I mean, there's nothing we can do. We can kind of hope that we get the Supreme Court justices or whatever. And so, but that's not, they're in fighting mode already. So go ahead.
One of the things that you shared on Facebook on your page the other day, you said the liberal baby murderers are ready to fight these next 2 years, but what about you? And you shared a tweet from Stella Bugby, and this is what Stella Bugby says. She says, "Don't move to Canada. Stay here and enroll in med school and learn to perform abortions so we can perform them when they become illegal." So they know. They know what's ahead.
Right.
They know the footing that people who are pro-life, people who want abortion to be ended immediately, they know the footing that we now have.
Right.
And now here's what we have to recognize as Christians. They know it, but do we acknowledge it? And are we willing to take this fight as far as we possibly can to end child sacrifice in the next couple of years?
But see, it's not just that they know it. I mean, we have that John Oliver clip we want to play.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
so,
watch. You got to stay tuned for this clip.
So we're going to play a clip from John Oliver, and on that clip, John Oliver is talking about ways to fight, and not. He's very clear to mention you don't fight against the Republicans. You don't fight against abortion in 2 years or 4 years. You vote now, and with your money and with your time and with sacrifice. So let's play that clip. Carmen, play that clip. We're going to play that clip now and let you see exactly.
But that is when you remember Mike Pence, who might be even worse because he looks like he's from the 1950s, but he thinks like he's from the 1650s. Oh, what's that you say? Her pregnancy was terminated before birth? Well, clearly she's a witch. Hold a funeral for the fetus and throw the mother in a lake. And I know this is all depressing, but it does bring us back to the important question, what the do we do now? And for the record, the answer is not move to Canada. Literally, the only excuse to ever migrate to Canada is if you were born there originally, it's springtime, and you are a goose. That's it. That is it. No, instead, we're going to need to stay here and fight. And not just politically in 4 years when he's up for re-election, but constantly monitoring legislation as it moves through Congress and voting when your legislators come up for re-election in 2 years. But that is still below the barest minimum of what is going to be needed, because for the last 8 years, we've had a president we could assume would generally stand up for the rights of all Americans. But that is going to change now. So we're going to have to actively stand up for one another. And it can't be just sounding off on the internet or sharing think pieces or videos like this one that echo around your bubble. I'm talking about actual sacrifice to support people who are now under threat. So, if you can afford the time or money, support organisations that are going to need help under a Trump administration. For instance, if you're concerned about women's health, donate to Planned Parenthood or the Centre for Reproductive Rights. If you don't believe man-made global warming is a silly issue, donate to the National Resources Defence Council. If you don't think refugees are a terrorist army in disguise, donate to the International Refugee Assistance Project. Oh, and also, given these guys' track record, I would also recommend donations to the NAACP Legal Defence Fund, the Trevor Project for LGBTQ Youth, and the Mexican-American Legal Defence and Educational Fund. Because that last one would be perfect if your compassion for Latinos goes beyond, say, I don't know, occasionally eating a taco bowl. And do check the box for recurring donations if you can, because this is not a short-term problem. And also, just for a dash, I'll give you just a dash of fun here. I will point out, if you have relatives who supported Trump, you can give money in their name. You need to support actual journalism by buying a subscription to outlets like The Times, or The Post, or your local newspaper, or donating to groups like ProPublica, a non-profit which does great investigative journalism. The point is, if we don't get actively involved to at least mitigate Trump's damage, things will not be okay.
So there you go. They know. Now, the question is, as Christians, do we understand the unique position that we're in right now?
Right.
So here's the amazing thing.
Look at how they're fighting, though.
Yes, no, I'm
okay.
going to get to that.
Okay.
So hang on to that thought real fast. The interesting thing is, despite how we know many Christians have disagreed over Trump and everything else, and people know how vocal we've been in the past about those issues, and our friend Dr. White and everything he has talked about, really fantastic discussions, important discussions. Look, despite all of that, brothers and sisters, despite all of the differences and despite all of the hostile sometimes engagements with one another in the body of Christ, really disagreeing over this, saying, look, we can't have Hillary. Look, we have Donald Trump as president now. And God's silver lining here, I think, is that he's given to us somebody who says that he's pro-life, and he said on 60 Minutes, he will appoint pro-life judges,
right,
overturn Roe versus Wade, those sorts of things. House, Senate, pro-life leaning. And so we're in a fantastic position. They see it.
Right.
Now, we have to do something. He's telling his followers and his viewers, you have to do something with your time, with your money. And everybody that he's telling them to go to, these are all these left-leaning liberal organizations, Planned Parenthood. These are organizations that fight to destroy ultimately the fabric of society.
Right.
And he's saying, get in the fight.
Right.
And as Christians, look, you can't say as a Christian, well, look, I'm pro-life in between my ears. I'm pro-life at home. I'm pro-life in my church, and think that that's going to stop abortion. It will not. Being pro-life in your heart and in your home will not save babies in our nation. You have to actually be involved in the fight. You have to expose child sacrifice, abortion for what it actually is, murder. You have to actually do something as a believer. At Apologia Church, we've actually gone to the abortion mills. We just had a save last Saturday, over 62 babies now saved in 3 years just because of Apologia Church's work at the local mills. Then we have over 20 ministries that have actually started because of Apologia Church's witness and being involved. They're saving babies all the time. Yes, it's valuable. Yes, it's necessary, but John Oliver's right. When he tells people, when he tells people we're in trouble, first of all, on their side, we're in trouble,
right,
and you have to get involved in the fight.
Right.
Here's the thing. They are aggressive.
Aren't they?
They are dedicated.
It's unbelievable.
And as Christians, I want to say one thing, despite whatever your eschatological view is, Jesus says the meek shall inherit the earth. Okay, so that ought to mean something to us. That ought to mean something, no matter what you think. It ought to mean something to us. The meek shall inherit the earth. Last thing I'll say, and I want you to say what you had to say. Darren Doan's film, the last one,
Free Speech Apocalypse.
Free Speech Apocalypse. The banner that they shared at this thing was what? The queer shall inherit the earth.
Queer shall inherit the earth.
Right? That's their long-term vision.
Right.
And as Christians, we have got to have a long-term vision of the future and be salt and light and do something active, something that's meaningful in this area. And so I think we have a unique opportunity to do it.
Yeah. So the way he positioned the fight was support people who are on the ground doing things.
Right.
Like Planned Parenthood, Center for Reproductive Health, and support media. Like, that's the thing that got me, is at the end, he's like, support the New York Times, support all these liberal news, get a subscription. That was crazy, right? Get a subscription to the New York Times. Get a printed paper subscription. Right? Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
So there are people on the ground and people in the media. Like, those are the two main things they're fighting for.
Yeah.
I think at Apologia we do both.
Right.
So we have the media, and then we have people on the ground. We have we have Rusty Thomas, who's over there doing stuff. We got him on All Access, teaching people how to do it. I mean, and then there's people too, like
R.C.
John
Sproul. We have R.C. Sproul Jr. on All Access, teaching you how to do this work at the abortion mill. So I'm gonna, if you're new to Apologia Radio, first of all, thank you. Welcome to the team. Go to apologiaradio.com, APOLOGIA, apologiaradio.com. Sign up for All Access. That helps us to do what we're talking about. And there are 2 Apologia Academies on how to do abortion mill ministry.
Right.
And you can watch that with your church and all that stuff. Okay.
Right. So you have get in the fight with media and on the ground.
Yes.
And so those are the 2 things that we need right now. We need Christian organizations and podcasts and media and stuff to rise up all over the place that's going to shout down these ideologies.
That's right. One thing real fast. We see your live comments right now. We're going to do our best to get to them. So Josiah and Princess Espinoza, you said, how do we support it if we don't have the finances or position in the church to even pitch the idea? First of all, it doesn't take ultimately really any finances to go to the abortion mill. You just need your body and your voice.
Right.
And that's really all we have. I mean, we have some signs, but I mean, those don't do the most damage. It's what we're saying to people. And you also can talk to your pastors about supporting you to go out to the mill and to and introduce them to our ministry. Show them that yes, it can be done in a way that is humble and bold and truthful and loving and compassionate. So in terms of being worried about finances, another way you can is, look, if you guys can donate $7.95 a month to be an all access partner with us on apologiaradio.com, $7.95 a month, guys. We are blessed by every one of you who takes part in that. And I got to tell you something. You may not think $7.95 is a lot of money, but it does damage.
Well, a lot of people are boycotting Starbucks this time of year, so they could just
transfer it over.
Transfer the boycott.
But every person who's a partner with us in this ministry that donates $7.95 a month, not only do you get all the content, and I'm not just trying to give a commercial here, but I mean in terms of what can you do, but that money, when you have it with all of our partners, it gives us the ability to travel to Washington, D.C., right? To buy flights, to get content, to expose it. It gives us the ability to have the technology and the equipment and the man hours to produce content that ultimately exposes abortion for what it is. So, I mean, if you said, look, I don't have like $1,000 a month to put into something to help in this fight, I would say, do you have $7.95? Because that would actually help us as a ministry to put out righteous, godly propaganda
Right.
in the area of abortion.
And what we're saying right now is we want to use everything that God gives us in these next 2 years to end abortion.
Yes.
Like to shut it down or to expose the Republicans for the frauds that they've been telling us that they are. So our promise to you is that when you support Apologia Radio, when you support Apologia TV, and when you share, if you don't have any money, you can just share stuff that we make.
Share this video right now.
Share this video. Like sharing is like, I mean, sharing is an amazing ability to really control the conversation with no money.
Can I talk to that for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
So we're a small church. Apologia Church is a small church. Yeah. You know, if everyone was there on a Sunday, it's maybe 200, 250 people max on a Sunday. We're a small church in Tempe, Arizona, with almost 1 million downloads by the end of the year of Apologia Radio itself, with millions of views on YouTube. And I just got back from Australia and New Zealand. I get to meet Christians from all over Australia and New Zealand that watch our content, and it has reshaped their lives and even whole churches because of a click of a button and an upload of something. Because somebody shared a video. And this weekend I met 2 people that came to Apologia Church for the first time, whose lives have been transformed. They came to Apologia Church because somebody on the other side of the country shared one of our messages, and now they're in a solid church and getting cared for and discipled. And so here's the point. We were able to get the message of the gospel and the defense of the gospel all the way into Australia, New Zealand, and all over the world. I got to see that with my very eyes, and it's because people simply shared the content. Right. That's it. I mean, so we have the ability to communicate in a way, listen, that we never have before. People have said, look, the world's, going to hell in a handbasket. Things are going really bad right now. And admittedly, yes, there's a lot of sin in the world. There's a lot of sin in the West, but the church is growing. There are more Christians alive now today on this planet than there ever have been in history at a single point in time. And we have the ability now to get the gospel out and communicate the truth like that.
Every Reformation in church history came at times of media breakthroughs.
Yes.
So you had the printing press.
Yeah.
You had the ability to typeset, all these different things, and then even the ability for the apostles to write letters cheaply came around because of the invention and distribution of paper into that region.
Yes. From
China. So every time there's a major media revolution, Christians take over it and use it and a Reformation breaks through. So we have everything we need, right?
Right.
So ultimately, I mean, we had to pay for the studio, and we had to pay for lights and stuff like that, keep the bills on. But this right here is being broadcast all over the world. It didn't cost a penny.
That's right.
Ultimately, I mean, you could do it with your YouTube, your own cell phone. You can broadcast all around the world. So we have the opportunity right now to really become the mainstream media right now. There's nothing stopping us from doing that.
Yes.
And we just need people to be active.
Yeah.
And to be, I mean, we need to fight harder than the liberals fight.
That's right. And we have the gospel and we have the truth. So we have to fight harder than them.
Right.
It really is a compelling moment for us. The media, you see them talking about it over the last week. They're saying, Donald Trump won. How did Donald Trump win? How were we so wrong on all of our figures and all of we thought that no way he's going to win. They're totally shocked, and the answer, and they're all saying it, social media. Yeah. Social media. Yeah. People communicated via social media. They shared content about Hillary Clinton. They shared content about Donald Trump, and that's where people got their information. People went to YouTube to watch people who actually gather information on their own as journalists and put content out. Right. That's what I did. I did not watch MSNBC, right, CNN, NBC, or Fox. Really, the only time I watched Fox this whole time, I watched Fox on election night. Other than that, I got my media and my content and my information through YouTube channels that I respect, right, and from social media sites that I respect, right, and I got the information that way.
I was just trying to think about what I did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I was checking websites that I trusted.
Yeah.
For the information
and
stuff.
The major media platforms all recognize that social media is a better form of communication for the people
Right.
than they are.
Right.
They're not. We know their leanings, and we know what they try to propagate, and they know it too, and they're shocked because now the power to communicate is more in the hands of the people than it is in this handful of media empires.
Right.
And so just consider that. You may think as a Christian, well, what good does sharing this one video on abortion? What good really would that do? It'll change the world.
Right.
This is what I was getting at. I forgot to mention this. So in Australia and New Zealand, people brought me out to Australia and New Zealand because they've seen our content. Click of a button, went around the world. They watch it there. We have just thousands of people in Australia and New Zealand that have been transformed because of what God's doing through Apologia Church. And as a result of getting to Australia and New Zealand and preaching on abortion there, now we have ministries starting in Australia and New Zealand going to the abortion mills, and that has never been a part of their culture. Christians going to the abortion clinics and mills in Australia and New Zealand. I just heard from a pastor this morning who is pastor of a church in New Zealand. They met with 40 church members a couple days after I preached on abortion on Sunday, and now they're all working together to create the plan to go to the mills in their area to preach the gospel.
Right.
How did that happen? It happened because of social media.
Right.
That's how they found out.
And so as we over the next 2 years give everything we have to end abortion, we're talking about this first.
Right.
Because this is, it's sad we have to educate people on this because it's just not something that people go learn how to fight on social media. And so that's step one. The first step is getting people who are passionate about ending abortion to know where to go, right? So we're saying as long as the Lord allows over these next 2 years, we're going to be the ones that are fighting to shut down abortion.
That's right.
And so we need from you guys a promise that you'll share our stuff, that you'll promote us, and we're going to make good stuff. We're not going to make junk. Yes. Right? Like that. I hate Christian media is awful.
When we say share stuff, we're going to put out exposés. Right. We're going to put out content that you can share with your neighbors and friends that they can watch, and we promise to do it in a way that is faithful, as much as the Lord allows, faithful to Christ, humble but bold. Mm-hmm. And so we hope to even be used by God together with you to change the minds of our neighbors.
Right. And so one of the things we're going to plan on doing is we're going to have the End Abortion Now website is going to have a list of congressmen and senators and how to contact them. That's something we want to get set up. And so we want the end abortion, and we're not talking about regulating abortion too, by the way.
That's right. No, explain that. Explain that.
We're not talking about making laws to make abortion harder. We're talking about making it illegal completely.
Criminalizing it,
right. Criminalizing abortion. So that's a strategy here, and it can be done. And we're going to get a guy on our show in the next few weeks. It's something to look forward to. We're going to get a guy on our show, and he's going to come on and talk about how Congress, ever since Roe v. Wade, they could just pass a law that makes an issue unavailable for the Supreme Court to rule on. Okay. So there's ways to end abortion that don't require an entire constitutional amendment process.
That's right.
Right, or even a Supreme Court judge.
Yeah.
So the Congress actually has the ability to restrict what a Supreme Court can rule on. And so he's going to be on our show to talk about that too. So there's a lot of stuff we're going to be doing and giving you guys as content. And so you could, get Apologia All Access, subscribe on our YouTube channel. Yes. At Apologia Studios on YouTube. Like our Facebook page. There's a button on Facebook where you can invite your friends to like our page. So the bigger that we get, the bigger that there's it's important that there's a media source that's dedicated to this cause.
That's right.
Right, and they have
they need to know who their enemy is.
Right. Exactly. Right.
They have to know this is our enemy.
Right.
From their perspective,
the liberals need to know.
They need to know that that Apologia
mm-hmm.
is this source for Christians that gives us a very specific message about what abortion is and what we're trying to do to stop it.
Right.
We're not trying to regulate it in terms of 20 weeks, 21 weeks, 22. Mm-hmm. We're trying to say abortion is murder. Repent in a hurry, criminalize it, and end it immediately.
Right.
So.
Right. What did David say when he's standing before Goliath? He said, "Who are you?"
Right. Yeah.
Who are you to attack people?
He said, "Who's this uncircumcised Philistine coming against the armies of the living God?"
That's exactly right. So like we need that boldness, with only one stone in our, in the sling, and we need that. Like we need to have the attitude of we're going to fight, and if we die trying. We're going to fight.
Hannah Oliver said, the scary part about criminalizing the woman is the risk of women who miscarry being targeted. Hannah, that's not an issue. We're talking about people who seek abortions, who go to seek abortions. So, right. Hannah, respectfully, that's not...
2 or 3 witnesses to it.
That's not true.
Right.
I strongly believe women are victims. Hannah, respectfully and with love to you, women who go into locations to pay assassins to tear their baby into pieces are not victims. Is it true that there is a possible circumstance where there is a victim in an issue of abortion? Yes. You could have people who are forced to have abortions
sex trafficking.
By the state, sex trafficking, of course, and our hearts break for those women. But we know the truth. Women get abortions in our nation, over 3,000 per day, and that's a 9/11 every day. That's a 9/11 every single day. Right. They get abortions out of convenience. Mm-hmm. And we have to talk about, when we say, are women victims here? Think about what happens in an abortion. Just as one example, when the assassin goes in, he goes in and he tears the baby's legs off. He tears the baby's arms off. He takes a special tool that goes in that crushes the baby's skull. And usually they know that they've crushed the skull because there's a milky substance comes out from the brain. They disembowel the child, and when they have taken all these parts and pieces out of the baby, they put the baby back together again on a tray, like a puzzle, to make sure they haven't left any pieces inside. When a woman pays a doctor to do something like that, she is not a victim. The baby, in that case, is the victim. Now, I want to say this for anyone who's listening and realizes just how serious a conversation this is. We want to tell women who have had abortions about the hope that's in Jesus Christ. And that if you have had an abortion and you're in Christ, you've turned from your sin to trust in Him, your sins are washed away, you are cleansed, and God will never condemn you for that because Christ was condemned in your place. You are forgiven. You are a child of God. God calls you righteous in Jesus Christ. But you have a more powerful voice than we do in this. If you've had an abortion and you've repented, you're forgiven and you are dynamite for the gospel in this area. But we want people, of course, to know who are considering abortion how much we care for them. Right. And love them and want the best for them and their baby. But we also know that it's important for us to tell the truth. We have to tell the truth because this is a baby's life at stake. When you hold these babies in your arms who were seconds away from being dismembered at an abortion mill, when you hold them in your arms, your whole perspective changes. Your perspective in terms of whether women are victims changes. Your perspective on how important this is changes dramatically. And your commitment to seeing this through to the end is dramatically impacted. And that's why we do what we do. We know what the truth is, and we know how important it is to save these babies. We've held these babies in our arms, and so that's why we do it. So anything else you want to add to that before?
No, I think I think you said it exactly right. Yeah.
Okay, so let me see here.
Somebody was asking about ectopic pregnancies.
Okay, let's get to that on the tail end of answering these questions. Okay, so so we talked about the unique situation that we're in right now with the president, the House, and the Senate being pro-life by profession. We talked about the control of the media that now Christians can have to communicate the truth. And we want to talk about being on the front lines quickly. When you go to the front lines of the abortion mill, we would say make sure you do it under the guidance and oversight of your local church, so there's encouragement and help. This is ugly, ugly ministry. It is not something that you should just be flippant about and just go out running out there and do it. You need the support of the body of Christ, and really the body of Christ needs to be what ultimately ends abortion, because it has to be about the gospel and not about a political issue only. It has to be about the gospel. And but we got to go to the front lines. And when we do, what do we say? Number one, we tell the truth. We tell them, please don't murder your child. And we plead for the lives of their babies. We give them the gospel. We tell them what Christ has done and the forgiveness that's in Jesus Christ. and we offer help, any help they could possibly need. Medical help, medical services, food, shelter. We'll adopt their babies. We offer to adopt their children. If they would not go through with the abortion, we will take care of their children and love them their whole lives. And so that's the message that we go to the front lines with. And as a result of Apologia Church's humble, small little group of people that go out,
Right.
Over 60 babies that we know of. That's just confirmed. And so that's what we do. That's important. Anything you want to say to that before I go through here?
No.
So one of the things that's going to happen over the next 2 years as we fight this with all that we've got at Apologia Studios, Apologia Church, is when we talk about what we're going to put out that we would really like you to share to help in this effort, we're going to expose the fallacious rhetoric. One of the things I think that we need to realize is just how well the left and people who are pro-choice, pro-abortion, how well they understand controlling the conversation and rhetoric. So they say things like, and it's become part of the vocabulary, they say things like, what about rape, life of the mother, those sorts of things, emotional argumentation. They say reproductive rights, and they say it's my body, it's my choice. So they have a media machine that promotes this. Mm-hmm. They have a rhetoric and a conversation that they have decided on and they control. And one example of that is, did you see the last debate between Trump and Clinton?
Yes.
Did you watch that?
Yes.
Now, when she's asked questions about abortion, did you notice that she goes on autopilot and she just repeats the same thing?
Right.
It's a decision that he's made between the woman, her family, her faith, and it's that you have this narrative that they just go on autopilot, right? They talk about a woman's right over her own health choices. So that's what it is now.
Right.
The rhetoric is not it's killing a baby, it's murder, it's destroying your own child. It's what? It's she should have control over her own health choices.
Except for Obamacare. You got to get that.
Right. So,
Right.
but that's the rhetoric. And so as Christians, we have to put out, let's call it what it is, righteous propaganda, true propaganda, solid propaganda that actually exposes these arguments as fallacious, addresses them. Like, what about rape? They say, what about rape? What happens if the woman is raped? Do you think she should be punished with a child? Well, we have to answer that directly and say things like, what's wrong with rape? And the person says, well, it's a violation of the woman. Her body and her person is doing things to her body that you have no permission to do. And we say, great, that's exactly what's happening in abortion. And so if you are against rape for those reasons, then you are fundamentally opposed to abortion. So we have to expose those sorts of things. When they say things like, we're for reproductive rights, what we say is we're also for reproductive rights. We think reproduction is awesome and it's amazing. We want everyone to have reproductive rights. But what you're talking about is not reproductive rights. You're talking about after you have reproduced, the right to murder your own child. So just things like that. It's exposing it for the grotesque thing that it truly is, and it's ultimately exposing the fallacious nature of their argumentation. Yeah.
So I think we need to start wrapping it up.
Okay. So what do you want to point people to right now?
Well, I think we mentioned Apologia All Access, but I don't think we really talked about what you all get for that. So $7.95 a month, we are up to well over 50 TV shows. There's the after shows. So we have a TV show. For those of you all that haven't heard of it, this is your first time. We have a TV show. It airs on the NRB network. And then if you pay $7.95 a month for All Access, you get access to every TV show we've ever made. Our podcast, which you get anyway if you subscribe on iTunes, and then we get the academies where we have people come in from all over the country and they talk to you and teach you on things like abortion, to theology, and stuff like that. So sign up at apologiaradio.com. You can get that at apologiaradio.com. And we're gonna be, like, our promise to you is that these next 2 years are going to be completely dedicated to preaching the gospel and ending abortion legally in our nation.
That's right.
And so that's what we want to do. And so we're asking you to get behind us, to pray for us, to financially support us if you're able, and we're going to use that, and we're going to create essentially a media empire, if God wills, that is gospel-centered and is going to fight this in a way that no one has ever fought this before. So,
What, just real fast, Carlos Rios, you said put out a documentary on Margaret Sanger and the racist Darwinist roots of Planned Parenthood. We need to shine more light on that organization. Amen. And yes to that. Yes to little clips about that. But we need help. We need you to share. We need you to join us. We need you to become members of All Access, partners with us, so that we can have the actual ability to pay for these things.
Right.
It takes money. I hate to say that. We need help.
Right.
And it costs money to do those sorts of things. But this is a good point. Yeah, one of the things we need to demonstrate, too, is how Planned Parenthood is, in some sense, responsible for destroying the black community in the United States of America.
Right.
And we need to put that before our black brothers and sisters, our black friends and neighbors, and say, look, your community, your whole community is being wiped out by this organization.
Right.
So we need to be able to put out exposés on Planned Parenthood, and that takes time, and it takes money, it takes support. So people keep asking on here, how do we help? How do we help? First of all, share Apologia Radio's content, pray for Apologia Church, partner with us on All Access, and I think you'll see we're going to be putting over the next 2 years lots of stuff out to expose.
Yeah, and if you have Apologia All Access, tell your friends to join.
That's right.
Yeah, and tell them.
EndAbortionNow.com.
Right.
We have that. That's up and running.
EndAbortionNow.com. We're going to have a donate button on there, so be checking that out. I'm going to get that up tonight.
Okay.
And then if you want so anything goes through there, we're gonna focus on all the media and stuff like that.
That's
for
right.
This. And so, and like you said, documentaries. We can think bigger than that, right? So we have documentaries.
Well, before you go on, you have to tell everyone about your documentary. We haven't mentioned it.
BabiesAreMurderedHere.com.
Okay.
Right. So that was a movie that I made. It's free on YouTube, and if you go to BabiesAreMurderedHere.com, you can watch the entire documentary, and you can share that.
Yes.
And so that's a documentary that's made on abortion that we have. That's if you're curious about how to fight abortion, like that'd be the first thing I would send people to.
Right.
Because that would be essentially the standard I would look to as far as like the examples that are on that website. And But I mean, just think like imagine if you could do a nightly news show,
Which
that
we plan on
addresses
doing.
this issues. Yeah.
Yes.
TV sitcom, right? Like movies.
Yes.
Dramas.
Yeah.
Like we have all that ability now. We don't have to have NBC buy our show, or buy our script in order for people to see it. We can just go make it.
Yeah. We make it, we put it up, and you can watch it straight, you just put it right on your television.
Right. So that's what needs to happen. Christians need to get excited about this.
Yeah.
Christians need to be passionate that God has given them this amazing distribution of all media, right? So in the past it was, the printing press gave us distribution of books, right? And now it's the internet's given us distribution of every single form of media ever made.
Yes. Yeah.
So there's no limits as to what we can do.
That's right.
We just got to do it. And
That's right.
and we're going to do it. And we're going to do it. So we just need you to pray about it and support us. And I think that's pretty much it.
So just the last question. A lot of people are asking about ectopic pregnancies. So I'll address just briefly. And this is so important, guys. Please hear this. When the left and liberals and people who are pro-choice and pro-abortion fight, the rhetoric that they use is they say things like health of the mother, rape, incest, and they use those. You have to understand, when you look at the statistics on abortion in the United States, over 3,000 babies dying a day. And the number is something like less than 2% is because of rape, incest, life of the mother, those sorts of things. So when you consider that, we're not even talking in the same realm because people are doing abortion at will. They're just out of convenience killing their children. It really is as Dr. White said yesterday on his show, the modern incarnation of the cult of Moloch in the United States of America. It's sacrificing your children for comfort, for life, for rain, for whatever. But in terms of ectopic pregnancies, understand when people are going to a Planned Parenthood and they're having an abortion, it's not because of an ectopic pregnancy. You go to the hospital. You go to an emergency room. You go to a doctor when you have a struggle, a health problem like an ectopic pregnancy. Long discussion can be had upon this. And my own family, my own wife, we've had miscarriages, and we had an issue in our own lives where we were twins, and they died in the womb, and the doctor at the hospital had to go in to remove the babies. So that took place in my own life, but in that case, the baby wasn't alive,
right.
And in that circumstance, this is a medical saving issue of
right.
saving a life because
right.
of an ectopic pregnancy. Generally, that baby dies, and medical professionals will tell you today that when the left uses the life of the mother issue, they'll tell you that's not really generally a factor anymore with the technology and medicine that we have today. So ectopic pregnancy, we can't allow the left to use even an example like that to legalize child sacrifice and murdering children in our nation. Those are very specific areas of concern that generally get addressed as a genuine medical issue at a hospital, and you've got what taking place? The mother trying to preserve the life of the baby in any way possible. And so those are important questions. We could probably do it. We probably have done a show.
Right.
We probably have done a show addressing that specific issue. Just go to apologiaradio.com and check that out. But in terms of just long-term discussion, I just want to say this. If I haven't made it clear, it's important for us to take down their rhetoric in even areas like this. Life and health of the mother, rape, incest, those things. Remember, less than 2% of abortions that are taking place because of those issues. It is abortion at will. That's what's taking place.
Right.
And we need to expose that.
Right. So apologiaradio.com, like us on Facebook and YouTube, and we're gonna build something amazing over the next 2 years.
Yeah.
And with a goal, a very specific strategic goal, and we just want to let you know that this is gonna happen.
Yeah.
So we're gonna fight.
Brandy Peterson, good answer. That's fantastic. Check out what Brandy says there. So if you guys want to get involved, I would start right now. I would go to apologiaradio.com. If you're not all access, go ahead and subscribe. Become part of the all access and get busy. Get to work with us, guys. And I would say, most of all, pray. Pray a lot for Apologia Church as we try to do our very best to end abortion immediately in our nation. And I'm trying to think, I don't want to miss anything while we have everyone on. We have 183 people watching live right now. I think it's important.
That's still not a lot.
Yeah, I think
compared to what we can do.
Yeah, so. I think what we can do immediately is if you go to apologiaradio.com and you sign up, you can get the academies. We've talked about this already, but before we sign off, you can get the academies where R.C. Sproul Jr. and Rusty Thomas taught on how to do abortion mill ministry. You can gather your church members at your home or at your church to watch that together, to get out on the ground yourselves right now and begin this work. Mm-hmm. And in the midst of all of that, as there's this groundswell of people going to the abortion mills, exposing it and saving babies and bringing the gospel, around all of that is the social media connections that are taking place where we're exposing abortion on a national level. And when you go to End Abortion Now, we're also going to have the ability for you to, we're working on this, know who your state representatives are.
Right.
And to be able to communicate with them to demand.
And the entire stream that we did on how to eliminate abortion legally is on the website. Yeah. So it's 4 hours long, and it has four lectures?
4 or 5 lectures.
Yeah, that we did. That was a live stream that we did last year. And so you could do that. And so we got to wrap it up.
Fantastic. Okay, so love you guys, and thank you guys for watching and sharing. And you guys can continue to share this stream. It's going to go up and stay up. So make sure people hear about it and they know. And thank you guys for blessing us.
Right.
We appreciate it.
All right. Cut to the static, Carmen.